It's a rough life. Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a rough life. Never getting nookie. They chase me from the kitchen when I start to beg. They think that I'm perverted when I hug their leg.
Hi, welcome to the show. My name is Jesse Goldberg, and my very special guest today is Vicky Lea. And who's got so much experience in television, I don't know where to start. But maybe you can tell us throughout this interview, right? What you've done, instead of me just reading off all these credits. So, when did it all start? Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Lexington, Kentucky,
right,
and went to the University of Kentucky. Really never intended to get into television. Thought it was one of those things that you just wanted to, see yourself on the air, if you were in TV. But I had a knack for putting things together, and in college I tended to put together productions, and I was winning awards. So
productions, TV productions, or
well,
theater productions?
I was in a sorority, and we had productions that we would put together to compete against other sororities and fraternities, and I would be in charge of those productions. I would put the music together and do the choreography, do costuming, plan a concept, and we would end up winning. We also had parties that I had to come up with concepts for, and those parties usually had a lot more people come back when we did the creative that I did. So I knew I liked doing that. I just didn't know you could have a career in it, because you really can't study in that particular facet unless you go into the theater or you go into journalism. That's usually where most of the things were. So I majored in interior design. And
interior design.
Interior design.
Is that like
I was
the houses, you mean?
I would, yes, and I was going to actually be a scientist. I had signed up for being a microbiologist, and my dad had taken me in to sign up for all the freshman courses and wanted me to be in the higher level science courses. And they said, you can't have all heavy courses. You have to take one easy course. So I looked. I said, how about this interior design course? Well, you have to major or minor in it. That's it. Well, okay, put me down as a major in science with a minor in interior design. I said, okay. So here I was, a scientist to be, going into interior design, and all the other people in the classes with me were doing their projects and taking them home and coming back, and they were making C's, and I was finishing my projects in class and making A's. And they were going, how are you doing that? I don't know, I just know how to do it. Again, it was concept, color, everything flows.
Well, how did you do in the science classes?
I was doing pretty well with that, but when the microbiologist came out, the teacher, and she had these really thick glasses, and she says, mark my words, every single person in this class is going to have glasses like me. So that's what you're going to be like if you're a microbiologist. That's not for me. I'm not going to do that. So basically, I just made a change to the interior design, and there we were with, my whole 4 years as a designer. And I did not realize at the time it was the best degree for me to get into television.
Now, why was that?
Because everything in TV is concept. It's writing, it's presenting that concept.
You mean like this beautiful set we have right here?
Exactly.
I guess I didn't go to interior design school, so all I got is a cardboard jukebox from The Great Escape.
And those are the things that work, though. They add content.
I just bought it today, as a matter of fact. So anyway, what happened next? How did you get into TV?
Well, so I decided that I would, after I graduated with my design degree, I would just give it one shot to go and see if there was some kind of job at a TV station. And I would just be an intern, And they wouldn't let me intern unless I actually went to school and took it as a class. So I took one more semester of just TV classes, journalism and some of the other things, and called up and got an internship with PM Magazine at Channel 27 in Lexington. And I worked 40 hours the whole semester, 40 hours per week, and they did not want me to leave after I had that job because I made their jobs all easier, but I was learning. I was learning how to edit, I was learning how to do all the equipment, I was learning what it took to write stories, and so when one of the gals left on a temporary leave, they asked me to take over her position for 5 months. And then when she came back, they made a position for me.
What was the position that you took over?
I took over office manager, but I was which meant I coordinated everyone. But I also started producing stories, and because they said, sure, if you want to do more work, why not?
Producing journalism stories.
I started producing stories for PM Magazine, and I started getting national stories. And the way it would work is that hundreds would be sent in from all over the nation, from all of the syndicated stations, and the national office would pick a story, 1 or 2 per week to slot in, and I started getting some of those stories. And again, all I did though was just watch and observe and absorb, and then would practice those things.
So the moral of the story is, if you really want to do something, do it for free for a while, or do it for very little money for a while, just to learn it. To learn what the people are really doing and how to, and make yourself valuable. Right, make yourself valuable. Okay, then what happened after PM Magazine? Well, after PM Magazine, all the stations started dropping their shows because Westinghouse, who owned PM Magazine, was asking way too much. It was the #1 show across the board, and they started asking way more than what stations could do to buy in. So people started dropping. So I lost my job when they canceled the show. And so before I'd left, the news department was just seeing if they could make a job for me there, and I said, well, if there's not one right now, I'll go ahead and see what other opportunities. Somebody that had worked with PM Magazine started a production company. They asked me to come there and be in charge of their creative services. And again, I had not done that job before, but I figured you can learn it. I could learn it, right. And so my job was to write commercials for any clients that come in, work with ad agencies to help make their commercials better, and create shows. We had Randy Savage came in and wanted to create a wrestling show. And I was going to be the producer. It was still in Kentucky. Lexington, Kentucky? Okay. He was wanting to compete with WWF. He and his father and his brother, Leaping Lenny, they called him. And I thought, okay, I can handle producing a wrestling show. I could write some of the things. That's all I want to do. And I literally, at the time, did not know that wrestling was all made up. And so I was writing down, segments, and I was going and interviewing, like one of the guys was Kabuki, and I'm interviewing Kabuki, tell me about your background, and tell me where you come from. And he stops, he says, what do you want me to say? What do you want? I said, well, your real story. Well, it's all made up. So what is, I go, wait a minute. How am I going to do the real behind the scenes if there's no real behind the scenes? And so it was so funny that I was learning, though, on the job. And the biggest laugh that I had was one of the times that Randy was in the office working with our owner, and I could tell they were looking at me with that look like we have something on our mind. We're about ready to ask you something. We hope you're going to say yes. I thought, don't be asking me to do something that I don't want to do. And they go, well, we were thinking you could be one of those girls that walk around the thing. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm a producer. And they said, no, you'd be in an evening gown. You'd be holding it. I said, no, I'm not wanting for wrestling fans to be knowing that I'm part of this whole thing in front of the camera. So I have to
back out on that one, you know, oh, okay, but they were really wanting to try to take it into a new dimension. He ended up after that going on with one of the major, I think he went with WWF instead of starting his own, because it's,
so
a hard
what happened next
thing.
in the life of Vicky Lea?
Well, one of the interesting things that happened there too was there was a client that came, he was a man from a gun shop, and I thought, how in the world am I going to promote guns as a commercial? I mean, how do you do that? And he says, well, all I really want is to win awards. All my friends have commercials and they're winning awards.
You mean Clio Awards, you mean?
Yeah, just, you know, Addies and Clio.
Right.
I just want to win some awards. Oh, really? You want me to write the spot for you just so he'll win an award? Like you can just do that, right? So I said, okay, well, so I really sat back and thought, what is the reason people have guns? What are some of the memorable things? And one of those has to do with a son being taught by his father what the importance is of becoming a man. And sometimes that is how you handle a gun. They go out for that first time, out hunting or to shoot, you know, something, bottles or whatever. And so I made it a very memorable spot, to whereas it was just the two people together, and that won an award. So I, over and over and over again, I was able to learn, listen, take something and then convert it out into something that could make a difference. After that, I was hired to move to Fort Worth to start a network that was called ACTS. It was a network formed by the Southern Baptists, and they wanted to create shows, and they wanted to create a show like PM Magazine, so they hired me down there to produce that show. That network is now Hallmark. So,
that's a big network.
And so I was there from the very beginning, you know, when all of the things were starting up. So I've seen a lot of startups through my day. For some reason, I've been hired for a lot of positions that I actually create that position.
So you didn't want to stay with Hallmark? What happened there?
Well, the ACTS network, it was an interesting thing. They moved everyone in. 6 months we were operating, and I was noticing something, like we didn't have any salespeople. We just had producing people and production people. And I said, well, where are our salespeople? Well, we don't need salespeople. Well, why don't we need salespeople? Well, God will just send in the money. And I said, but don't we need salespeople to receive the money if God's sending in the money? Well, we really hadn't thought of that. So I started making some calls to see how to get my show funded, because I wanted to at least have my show funded because mine was the most expensive. My show was called Our World. So we shot stories all over the world, which is pretty expensive. And so 6 months came and went, and I had a list of people that would fund my show from the revenue side, not investors, just revenue side. And I came with the package, and I said, I've got it all together. They said, well, it's too late. We're going to close the network. So in closing it, what they really did was sold it to some other people, and then that, through the transitions, became Hallmark. So being stuck down now in Fort Worth, I had to go get a job. Another job. So I just heard one job. It was over in Dallas with the CBS affiliate, and I went over there and applied for the job, and he said, you've never done promotions before. Promotions is commercial writing for TV stations. And I said, well, no, but isn't it a lot like writing commercials? I've already done that. No, it's very specific. You have to know how to do this. I said, okay. Well, I'm used to doing jobs that I haven't done before, so I really feel like I can do it. He says, okay, I tell you what, if I hire you and you can't do it in 6 months, can I fire you? I said, yeah, I'll fire myself first. If I can't do this job,
right,
I'll fire myself. He says, okay.
Okay, so let's get to some of the stuff. What's this, because we're going to run out of time, the Wheel of Fortune thing. What was that?
When I was in Nashville, I had a job here where Wheel of Fortune wanted to come and do a celebrity week, and they called me to line up all the country music stars that were on their list. Of course, everyone thinks if you're in LA or New York that in Nashville you know everybody personally. They thought I could just probably call up the country music. So I said, well, it's not quite that easy.
Who'd you get?
But I don't even remember all of the people at that time that I got, but I did get some pretty big names for them. I went through agents and through some of the music companies.
Let's get
to
to
do that.
American Treasures. I know that's the show you're doing now, right?
It is.
And
it is.
You're the host of it?
I am.
The host of it.
Through all of my years.
Now this is a picture of American Treasures.
Yeah, this is our state version, which is Tennessee Treasures, and we tell stories behind trivia questions. So we tell history. Who nicknamed the American flag Old Glory? His name is William Driver. He's buried here in Nashville.
Really?
And Old Glory is one of the top 3 flags in our American history.
Give me another one.
Who invented the game of miniature golf?
Who?
Found that story out. It's Carter, Garnett Carter. He was an uncle of the guy who owns Rock City now, and heard that story when he didn't even know the story himself. He just said, Uncle Carter said something about it.
You do a half-hour show on this?
We do.
Each issue? Each one? Trivia?
Well, we have about 4 or 5 stories on each half-hour show.
Okay.
So we're able to go all
Where is
over.
this shown?
We are just moving to a new network. We've been on FamilyNet this last year, and so we're moving to a new network. I call them VTV, but they're Vetro TV, and they are going to be a global network, and they are getting ready to launch here in February.
Where do you get these questions from?
I am researching all the time, and we come up with our
you're
own
doing the whole
questions.
thing. Because I used to work in TV. I was a game show writer for a while.
Really?
Yeah, and I was one of those people that come up with weird ideas.
Okay.
And so you don't have a whole bunch of people doing that, you're just doing it yourself?
Well, I have a team that helps me, but I pretty much pick what stories we're going to do, and I come up with the trivia questions.
Give me one more.
And,
Give me one more.
Let's see. I mean, there's so many that I could pick.
Just anything.
Who's the author of Roots?
Alex Haley.
Alex Haley. Do you know where his boyhood home is? It's Henning, Tennessee.
Oh,
so we go in search of that location where someone either started their story or ended their story or where it happened.
Oh,
and we connect them to places.
Right.
So like this is Tennessee
That sounds
Treasures, so
interesting.
these are all the
How
treasures in Tennessee.
I can't get it on my cable station, can I?
You will be able to. It'll be on Comcast and on Cox. I just don't know what number yet.
It will be on Comcast
It will be. It will be.
Okay. Will it be one of the free ones or just an extra one?
I do not know. I do know, though, they are launching an internet channel, so you'll be able to see that channel on their website.
That sounds interesting, like an interesting show. Because I'm a trivia guy. Now, what's this right here?
Well, this was a shoot where I was producing segments with Michael Learned from the Waltons. And we were doing.
He was the mama.
We were doing Thanksgiving interstitials for our Thanksgiving marathon for TNN. Highly successful, and she's a great lady.
Was anybody else from the Waltons there?
Not at that particular shoot, but we've had Jason from the Waltons do one of our, raps. And
Jason, which one was that?
The redheaded.
Oh, the guitar player, the singer one? They're all redheaded.
Well, it was John Boy's.
John Boy was the only one who wasn't redheaded.
Right, next.
The next guy down. Yeah, that was the
middle.
That was the piano player singer. What is this?
This was.
This guy's really funny.
Yes, I produced Movie Neighbors, and with Jeff Dunham and 2 gals from the Comedy Central channel, and they're also in drama series as well.
This guy's one of the funniest guys I've ever seen.
He was great to work with, really great to work with.
Ventriloquist.
Yep.
Well, that's really, so what I missed a ton of things here. What did I miss? I just wanted to make sure I get that treasures thing in there. So tell me more about how did you get this treasure thing started? Is this your idea?
Being in TV, I was able to see all the things that people like to watch. A big part of my job has been working for networks, being in charge of their creative services department and having to promote some of the shows we have, as well as develop some of the interstitials that will make shows pop from the network. And it just seemed so common, people's interest in history, but we also have a short attention span, so putting them in trivia questions and then telling you behind the scenes that story, no one was doing it. So I actually started that concept back in '93, and I was in Louisville at the time, and I actually started it just with the testing with a board game. Put out a board game in Kentucky. It was successful. Trivia Louisville is what we called it.
Oh, Trivia Louisville. Okay.
And I saw how people of all ages loved that kind of information. You had grandparents, you had the kids that were learning it in school, you had the parents that wanted to connect.
Well, there was a whole, in the 80s, I think it was, a whole Trivial Pursuit thing going on. Remember that?
So my thought was, I mean, I was wanting to launch it as a game, but just to make sure that that was something that was highly appealing, and it was. So then we expanded into going ahead and doing the show, and we've really, I mean, it takes a long time to do shows like this sometimes to really get them with the visibility.
How long has it been on for?
I actually started our first show in '97.
97?
And 97 was my very first show, and I worked to market it and to see about getting sponsors, et cetera, and we kept shooting, and we were in the Williamson County schools and some things around places around Tennessee, and then in 2006 we launched the Tennessee Treasures version, and we were in Tennessee, and then went and expanded into 6 other states, and then right after that went ahead with the America's Treasures into the national.
So you're on National Treasures now? It's not just Tennessee Treasures?
So America's Treasures has been airing nationally since, well, let's see, about 3 years ago. So we keep expanding more and more.
Are you the only person who is, I mean, who sticks microphones in people's faces, or are there other
I'm the host.
On-air people?
There's not. In one of our shows, I did have some other people to help with that.
So you're like a one-girl operation there, talent-wise.
In a way, yeah. But I get this. I mean, this is really where I started from with the PM Magazine kind of philosophy. Right. This is the same format, and so it's really easy for me. It's easy for me to write the stories, to go ahead and put the things together, pick the locations, all of those things. But I do, like I said, I have a team. I have an editor. I have graphics people. There's a lot of things that I can't do, but I know how to supervise or creative direct, to get what we need to have done.
Do you shoot these with one camera, or do you shoot them
one?
Do you have a whole lighting crew that comes with you?
No, the cameras today are so good that you really don't have to have a lot of extra lighting.
Do you do the editing by yourself?
No, I've got an editor for that. I might do some offline.
Offline meaning?
Offline meaning a rough cut.
A rough cut, right. Right.
And then we'll go and do the tweaking, in a session. Yeah, right. It takes a little longer. So there's a lot of graphic components to this and layers. So I like to keep it at that level, of a show. So
it's going to come to Comcast sometime in the...
If I had any information, I really don't. People can probably... I do have a website for this show, americastreasures.tv, and I will announce... .tv, and I will announce where it will be seen with all the information.
Can it be seen on YouTube or anything like that?
They will have their own channel address, and then they will be putting it on Comcast and, like I said, on Cox, and it will also be global. They'll be launching in 2 other countries, Thailand and India.
So do you have any future doing something else, or just you don't want to talk about that?
Well, no. I mean, I'm currently working.
I mean, you must sound like you're pretty busy with this Treasures thing.
Well, yes, but believe it or not, this is only one of my projects. We are creating other TV shows. I'm executive producer for about 5 feature films that we're in the financing stage for.
5 feature films?
5, 2 of which I've written the screenplays for.
Do you write screenplays too?
I do, yes.
Wow.
And I consider them sort of high concept. I go for the high concept things, the things that are quick, that you can easily promote.
How long does it take you to write a script?
About 3 months if I have it fully thought out.
How about the first draft?
I think the first stage is having a concept that I sort of think about for about 6 months before I start writing. But once I write it, it's probably a good 6 weeks for writing.
Do you do it the index card way? Where you,
No.
Where you just write it and let it go?
I write it and I put it into final draft, and so it's in the screenplay format.
But I mean, some people say you should have the whole thing mapped out, or do you just let it go?
It's an outline.
Sometimes you discover things along the way, like when you're writing it says, oh, this would be good right here.
Yeah, you pretty much know how you're going to start and how you're going to end. You know some of the components for the middle, and then as you're writing it, some of those things will change, obviously, especially if a character takes off a little bit more.
Right. Are these action? Are these romance? What are they?
Drama. They're mostly drama. One's got a presidential theme to it, political theme. Another one has a Christmas theme to it. And I've picked up a superhero script that comes with a book with the whole line of products that we'll be doing at some point. And so I don't just do just mine.
You made the superhero up, or you?
There's someone in town.
Oh, somebody did a superhero.
David Vandiver has written a
I know that person.
A superhero story, and so
is it about me?
We acquired it. Probably. He probably.
I could wear a cape.
So you know, just trying to do a variety of films, and the focus really is to have really good, solid content out that people can enjoy, that they don't have to worry about it being what I call junky. It's quality programming or quality films, but yet somehow you're left with feeling really good about what you've seen, that there's a benefit to what you're watching. To me, if you do anything, if I were to do anything that didn't have that benefit when people spent their time to watch, then I'm not doing my job.
So of all these things that you're doing, which you only touched on, which one is the most satisfying to you? The TV, or scripts, movies? What do you like the best, or is it just any?
My dream is to get more into films, but my background is all in TV. I mean, it's been heavy for many years in TV, so I know TV like the back of my hand. I helped launch the WB network, and I helped launch.
You did?
I did, and I.
You just left that out. Though.
Well, I mean, you know, there's.
I should have read this bio.
No, and you know, in WNAB here, I was one of the first 4 people that was hired to start that station, and my job was to figure out how to put it on the air with all the creative. So I know TV, but I really want to be able to see it on the bigger screen at some point. Now, my baby has been the America's Treasures project, so. It feels good to be at that place now where it's grown at least to the stage I had wanted it to be, where the network that's launching is making ours a priority show as one of their top picks. So that's what I really wanted, was to find a network that could make it a priority so that people could, you know, see it a lot easier.
Well, it sounds interesting, and you got all this. I haven't done anything in my life.
I think I've been lucky at being able to, you know, if you work hard, you call it luck, you know, and you can be in the right place.
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Exactly.
Anyway, we got to wrap this up. My name is Jesse Goldberg, and my guest today has been Vicky Lea. Very interesting. And we'll be back next week with another edition of the show.
It's a rough life, living up to Lassie. It's a rough life, trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack, knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life when fleas live on your belly. It's a rough life when people call you smelly. I'm developing a complex, I might need a shrink. They blame me.